spicy one out here in the desert last night between the Warriors and Suns. Here's what I'm going to do. I've only done this maybe once or twice in the 5 seasons that I've covered, or 6. This is season 6, I think. I'm going to release today's patron breakdown free here on YouTube. Now, if you get it on YouTube, it's a full frame, like normal footage of the games. But, for YouTube, got to do that. But I want to give y'all a dose of my work on there and what you would expect in the game-to-game breakdowns. Share it with y'all. And so consider checking out the patron and subscribing to that. But as always, hit the like, share, and subscribe here. And without further ado, today's breakdown of Warriors Suns. Still a weird vibe around this Suns team with such a tumultuous offseason. But the storylines, we don't really need any setup headed into this. You know the deal, and you know this potential matchup moving forward. Got a lot to dig into in this game, so let's just do it. Suns, Warriors in Phoenix, Game 4. The big difference I see with Draymond, he's shot ready, specifically in the corner. You can see the hips are dipped and then the little toe tap to give himself a rhythm. Much better arc on it. The Suns are masters at getting Ayton easy paint touches. Watch as he slips this screen. The key is he cuts across the paint diagonally, so he doesn't have to fight for positioning because he's weak there, and then he ends up catching it on a switch right in front of the rim. I'd love to see Wiseman get some stuff like that. You obviously see the length with Bridges, but the ability to fight and get through screens and still contest is what sets Bridges apart as a defender. That length and then that skinniness and the ability to slip. You can't really screen him. Klay wide open in the corner, really struggling with his shot early, and it might be a consequence of not playing any pickup ball. His legs are strong, right? But he's not in basketball shape. Chris Paul, the sneakiest three-point shooter in the league. Just when you don't think he's going to shoot, that's when he gets you. Wiggins, though, watch the 3 vets. Just watch him go to work. And he's kind of the new get-going early guy for us, once a role that Klay played. Stat of the night, the foul line, 34-17. A lot of them suspect calls and calls that probably wouldn't be made in a playoff series. And, we focused on Jordan Poole replacing Klay Thompson and kind of a little narrative of that. In actuality, it's Wiggins who's the new version of Klay, an elite two-way wing. And maybe Klay feeling a little bit of pressure from both those guys coming into their own. You heard Draymond talking about Wiseman has to focus on up and down, not side to side as a big man. And he's almost doing it too literally, right? He's got to understand he still has to flip his hips and open up. Ayton's quickness off the ground here on display, and it was on display all night on the glass in particular. And look, Wiseman, the young guys, they're making a lot of mistakes defensively, but let's be clear here. No one's defending. Watch Draymond here fall asleep on the weak side as Cam Johnson basket cuts. Wiggins is going to clean it up. But then you'll just see more mistakes here. Klay can't buy one, wide open, but watch Wiseman get pushed under the basket here. Head under the basket, you can't make a play. Out in transition. Listen, the switching has been as bad as I've ever seen it under Steve Kerr. And it's just over and over again, more fouls, more free throws. All right, some positivity. Wiseman continues to show much better hands, which is quite frankly shocking, right? But Draymond, that's a 50-50 pass. It's a bad spot to put the kid in. He should have found Steph in the corner. I don't expect him to make that read, but it's the cross matchups in transition. And ideally, you want to protect Wiseman by letting him go to the paint, but you speed ahead here. What's Draymond doing? He's just standing there. And a lot of his communication and defense is in transition, scrambling and making sure we cross matchup properly, and we're just not doing that right now. In fact, we're just not talking at all. As you see, Poole doesn't let Draymond know he's going to get swiped, and it may be a sign of mental fatigue. Watch Draymond and Wiseman. Wiseman thinks he's going to stunt and get back. Nope, Draymond switching up, wide open jumper. The lack of communicating and talking, again, it might just be the shortest offseason ever, right? And they're just mentally not dialed in yet, as well as not being in the greatest of shape, is a perfect storm. But Wiseman continues to eat offensively within the system. And the big positive with Wise right now is he's trying to do everything they ask of him. Kuminga, that might be another story, right? The 3-ball kept us in it here early. Moody's 3 just looks real splashy right now, right? The trajectory on it just looks good. You could tell Poole had a nice rhythm going. And it was just back and forth, a super fast pace that both teams were comfortable with. Now watch Moody. He's going to call out a switch off of Shamet to Payne. Ty Jerome makes the switch, but then Moody's like, I'll just roam. I'll kind of just hover here. KYP campaign is too fast for that, Brody. I know the plus minus for Wiseman right now is really bad regardless of who's out there with him, but he's starting to learn the cat and mouse game of pick and roll. I talked about him opening up. Not only does he open up here, but he baits Payne into scooping into the layup, gets a piece of it. They go to the floor, and you know Payne is comfortable there close to the wood. D. Lee checked in, and he was like, I'm conflicted. I don't know what to do. And Poole's eyes got big, cooked him immediately. He really got going here to start this second quarter, started heat checking and really found a rhythm. But again, stay ready so you don't got to get ready. The defense is so bad, it's almost promising because it's going to get a lot better. There's no way it can't. Again, Poole, heat check, bank. And there were some minutes here between the two second units where we were getting the better of them. And that's where the Suns, that without Crowder in particular, that second unit could be suspect offensively. And then this dude, Jacques Lendl, Bogut's homie. Looney was like, I didn't know he could do that. Well, he was kind of the story of this game for the Phoenix Suns, another big man. We've seen Wiseman do this a couple times where he tries to guide in the lob to no success. If he catches it clean, he might want to punch that harder. That might alleviate that problem. Here he is, being big, solid contest on Ayton. They say football is a game of inches, basketball is a game of seconds. And you can see Ayton, watch, he recognizes pretty quickly he's going to have to switch out on Steph. And Wiseman right now, he's a second late in a lot of these recognitions. Hey, I'm not going to complain about it, but it's funny how good Draymond's float game and corner three ball look all of a sudden, right? Steph, great ball denial, bullying Bridges. And then Klay, listen, he grew up watching Showtime Lakers, the Magic Johnson dime, and Wiseman flashing the hands again. Right now, where Ayton is just so much better than Wiseman is on the glass. 14 rebounds last night to go along with 16 points. Now, I'm not saying that this should have been an and one, but by the way they were refereeing on the other end, it should have been, right? It was just an uneven whistle. But look, man, it looked like a WNBA game last night, right? There really wasn't any D on the floor. Draymond, way too easy coast to coast. Now it's Poole and Steph in a miscommunication here, right? So Steph's following the scheme. He's like, hey, we're going to switch these. But Poole is playing what he sees. He's like, I don't have to switch this. And so what happens is an easy miscommunication slip for Bridges. Next time down, you see them talking. Poole's like, all right, my mind's made up. I'm switching. We're switching, right? And Steph's like, actually, you know what? I don't need to switch in this scenario. And so that's why a lot of coaches just make it an all or nothing proposition. We either switch or we don't, and try to simplify things. Traditional Draymond, Steph pick and roll. Wiggins is going to knock the three ball down. And look, Draymond looks really good offensively. There's no denying it. Everybody looks bad defensively. I thought this was interesting because we know he's been looking for his own offense more and more. And you see Poole wants this in the corner. Is he making that pass because he's like, hey, JP, you know, an olive branch? Either way, he doesn't get it off in time to end the half. The reality is, if the Suns were to take us out in a series, it would be because of DeAndre Ayton. And you saw Draymond trying to get him up out of there with foul trouble. He didn't pull it off in the first half, but there he took the charge. And here was the problem. Here's where the wheels started to come off. Draymond, clearly an and one opportunity. Ayton, it was body contact. He doesn't get the call, so he gets teed up. Kerr gets teed up. Next time down for the Suns, phantom call on a swooping Mikal Bridges, touch and one. So now they're salty. It wasn't like we lost our composure because of the Suns and how they were playing, but either way, we kind of lost our composure. Here's a one-timer to Draymond. 14, 8, 5, and 3 for Money Green last night. And then it got spicy. And someone was asking me last night on Twitter, well, what do you think Booker said to Klay to get him so mad? I don't think he had to say much. I think he was just cooking him. And the fact that he kind of has a big bro, little bro relationship with Booker magnified it. Then you combine that with the frustration of his own shooting slump. Look at these splits here to start the season. And so Klay just boiled over. I don't think Book said anything but the typical trash talk between players. And you know Klay can always reach for the rings. He lets them know he's got 4 of them motherfuckers. But think about it. Booker is a guy that Klay traditionally has got the best of. And now at this stage in their careers, he was having a hard time with him. And I thought it just really hurt him. And you'd have hoped that it would have fired up the Warriors to dial in, but the Suns were already going. They had their juices flowing. One thing to point out, here's Bridges again, slipping screens. If we're going to see them in a series, they have to understand the off-ball stuff with Steph. Bridges is going to blow a lot of that stuff up because of his ability to get through screens. And the other thing that really killed this was, all right, here we go. They're going to dig in. This is going to be a battle. We spotted Phoenix about 10 free throws in 2 minutes with all the technicals, right? And so big picture, look, for Klay, I think that he is going to get humbled by some of these younger players who he at one time had an advantage on and may no longer have that. But ultimately, we know he'll use it as fuel. And as far as his shooting slump goes, remember, he didn't play any pickup ball, so he may be stronger in his legs, but he's not in game shape as you see Kevin Johnson and Dora the Explorer courtside. Here's Draymond doing his job. So much of his communication is this in transition. Wiseman, get out, get out. You're going to have to pick up on the perimeter. The problem is you're going to have to guard a top 10 scorer in the league, and Book uses his eyes to pull Wiggins off the baseline. And then you know the saying, when it rains, it pours. Now you have Torrey Craig with running floaters across the lane dropping off glass. Now a bad clear path call on Jordan Poole. I think we all agree this rule is good, that it's in place, but the refs have to use context and the human element to understand when they're going to call it. So now Booker gets a free throw. And, of course, the possession where he continues to get into his bag in the mid-range, this time on Moses Moody, who actually defended him better than Klay did overall. More Jock Landale. And a lot of us, myself included, thought, hey, if we're going to fill the 15th spot or the back end of this roster, let's add another big guy. Hey, Phoenix did, right? And he's paying dividends, and he feels like he might be a problem in a potential series. Chris Paul is that old guy at LA Fitness that just has his hands all over you. He's way stronger than he looks. Look at this little chode, stick pull up, hand check. You can see Jordan check the fingers of the right hand here. Now, you wonder what this game would have looked like with Kuminga in Wiseman's minutes. It allows for obviously more switchability, and then Kuminga rebounds better than Wiseman, which isn't saying much, right? So he got some garbage time here. But the other thing that was interesting was Steph and Draymond were out there late when the game was kind of out of reach. I'm assuming it was to hit the 30-minute mark, because the only way to lift this minute cap would be to get those minutes in. And of course, like any other NBA blowout, we cut it down to 10 or 12 points here for a minute. But you look at the size on the floor. Size is relative. It's not like the Suns are huge, but look who we are rolling out there. Moody, Kuminga, Draymond, Ty Jerome, and Steph. No one over 6'7". And so the Suns, relative to our lineups, are big. And you saw that play out here late with some easy baskets. A lot of love for D. Lee. And if you notice, a lot of love for James Wiseman. Whether it's the other players or the coaches, you can tell they all want him to succeed, because I think they can tell how much he wants it. And he just has a likability factor. And so I'm actually really encouraged by the baby steps he's showing, even though he's not getting results, at least on the defensive end. I'm seeing him trying to do the right things and slowly but surely figure out pieces of it here and there. And we just have to be patient with it. As far as the defense goes, again, it was such a joke. You almost can't worry about it. But another factor that makes me feel better about it is it's the vets. The vets are playing like shit too. It's not just the rookies. And so the defense is going to get a lot better, but they're going to have to tighten it up sooner rather than later when you consider how deep the Western Conference is looking. I don't think they have as big a cushion as maybe they thought to start this season. As far as the Booker-Klay thing, shout out to Book, man, for reading the room and paying homage to his OG.
You're the first player in Suns history with 3 30-point games in the season's first 4 games. Can you just talk about how you're feeling right now?
I feel good. You know, it's a new season, a new opportunity. We obviously fell short of what we came for last year, so, you know, we're just building this thing up, one game by one game.
This had all the elements of a playoff-type game. What was it about tonight's game that kind of brought out all the emotions in everybody?
I wouldn't say that, you know, but those are defending champs over there. You know, them guys have a culture and an environment that, you know, they're holding the crown. You know, so every time we match up against them, you know, we just want to play hard, play competitive.
And Dev, I got to ask, you know, you and Klay Thompson got into it in that third quarter, and I saw some guys holding up the 4-ring symbol as a taunt. What? Just tell me your views on what happened and how that all played out.
Man, I love Klay Thompson, and I have from the beginning. You know, from the draft coming out, I said I want to be Klay Thompson. You know, that doesn't excuse us from competing against each other and talking a little mess with each other. So I have fun with it. Big fan of his and his competitive nature, and that's that.
Number of respect for you, Book.
What Draymond tell Paul Pierce? They don't love you like that? Well, they love Klay like that. And so he is going to get respect as he ages. He's just got to age gracefully by being a little more humble. But Book knows who he is, right? He knew that was what was going to happen with Klay. So congrats to the Suns for a big win in October. I'm out, y'all.